Hello, my name is Artie Phillips and I'm a reporter with the Killeen Daily Herald. Today I will be interviewing Democratic candidate Jennie Leeder, who is running for Texas Senate District 24. Okay, so what do you think makes you the best candidate for this position?
I think I'm the best candidate for this position. I'm a seventh generation Texan. I taught agriculture and physical education for 11 years. I grew up in rural Texas and I understand what everybody is battling. They are trying to make sure that they have enough money to put food on the table and a roof over their children's head and to provide with what they need. And our rural district is changing. No longer family farms cannot support families as they used to 20, 30, 40 years ago, and we have a new face. I feel like I understand their pains and understand what they're going through because I was raised in a small rural community and we do farm. We have a Century family farm that I help my father with. That being said, we have to understand that education has to come first within our district. We have to understand our roads and bridges. We have to understand our medical. And those are things that going around Senate District 24, I've visited with all of our constituents and people and understand that those key components are issues that they're passionate about, and I feel that I can help them with those.
You touched on several points in that answer. So what do you think are your top three priorities within the district?
The top three priorities are helping small businesses be successful, to help our retired teachers and our state employees have fully funded retirement benefits, and then to fight state government corruption. And under that government corruption falls a multitude of things. It's the Medicaid, it's the roads and bridges, making sure the money is applied appropriately, it's the education funding. So all of that rent falls into that heading.
Now, since the Killeen area and the Fort Hood area in particular, that's one of our big points of coverage, do you believe the U.S.-Mexican border should be a local issue for the people of Killeen and Fort Hood?
I do. I believe that in the state of Texas, we need to have comprehension immigration reform, and we also need to protect our borders. So I would fight to fund extra funding for the Texas Department of Public Safety and the Texas Rangers so that they can have the adequate money to put boots on the ground to stop and to prevent the smuggling from the Texas-Mexico border. And to go a little bit further into that, it's not acceptable for the drug cartels or for human trafficking to have a successful business coming across the border into Texas. So funding would be a top priority to make sure these agencies can train their employees and can then put them in places that they need to be. So that would definitely take precedence, the funding and the support for those agencies.
Do you think there are an adequate number of good, well-paying jobs available in this district area for soldiers who are getting out of the Army? And do you think there are steps that can be taken at state level to increase the number of jobs available?
I do. So my sister is retired Air Force and her husband is retired Navy. So the military speaks to our family. I have a cousin who is in the Army. My nephew served 3 tours in Afghanistan. So this speaks close to our heart on when they came home, especially my nephew. He had a hard time finding a job when he got out. So I believe that locally what we need to do is work with our businesses to do a multitude of things. The first thing that I've proposed is to take away the fees for our veterans and our military when they're coming out and they want to get a license or a professional certification, to make that a non-fee for them to do that. And then, to support their families while they're here also, we need to look at the education. We need to support public education and increase our education graduation rates. And in that, when families move around military-wise, sometimes the education of their students is a hard issue for them. So we need to help our local public education, but then overall we need to have good, solid partnerships within our community with our businesses and with our corporations that create jobs that are local for our military and for our veterans as they're exiting.
Now, one thing that has certainly been on everyone's mind lately after the water crisis in Flint, Michigan, is water rights. What would you do to protect water supply and water rights within the district?
Well, and water is a very hot topic. We have always said in our family that the next issue in the state of Texas wouldn't be a range war like they used to have when they were putting up the barbed wire and people were cutting it. It would be water rights. And without water, we can't survive. So I'm definitely not in favor of eminent domain where they can come in and they can take your land for water and for pipelines and such. I'm also concerned with the corporations that are coming in and trying to purchase the land, and then they have control over a city's water. And sometimes it's city's water or the wells, and they're looking at bottling and selling versus taking care of the constituents in the area.
Now, early on, you mentioned Medicaid. Are you in favor of expanding Medicaid in Texas, and why or why not?
I am. The state of Texas has over 4 million people that are uninsured. And what is so disturbing to me as being a former educator, my parents are retired teachers, my mom of 27 years, my dad of 25, and we're very active still in public education, is that of that 4 million, over 600,000 of that number are children, that they are uninsured. So yes, I am very, very in favor of expanding Medicaid in the state of Texas. Nobody should not be allowed to have affordable health care and have access to affordable health care.
And obviously, as a teacher, you've been talking about education a lot. So what would you do to improve the state of education within the district?
Well, the first thing we need to do is look at funding. And we need to make sure that the entire system in the state of Texas, that all of the school districts are adequately funded. And then once we look at making sure they're adequately funded, then what we need to look at is make sure our teachers are funded also, that they have the salaries that they need so that we have good teachers that will come into the profession and will stay in the profession. Right now, most teachers leave at 5 years due to salary, or I should say lack of salary. So first thing, we need to make sure it's funded correctly. Then we need to look at our teaching staff, make sure we have good, solid teachers. Then the third thing we need to do is look at state testing. This last year, I believe there were 15 days that they were used for mandatory state testing. I was blessed this summer to actually visit a couple of minutes with the Secretary of Education. And in our conversation, I was talking to him about why Texas did not accept the federal funds. And one of the reasons was our local test that we have to take in the state of Texas. So we need to look at our funding, make sure it's equitable for all communities. We need to make sure we have good teachers who are staying in and not leaving at 5 years. We need to reduce the amount of testing, and instead of teaching to a test, we need to teach knowledge. That way, when our students go to take their ACTs and SATs, our students are increasing with their scores, not decreasing or staying the same.
Okay. Okay, and we covered a lot in the interview. So do you think there is anything else that the voters of the district should know about you before the election?
I have a passion and a love for this state, and I want to represent the voters. I want to represent the citizens of the state of Texas, not a special interest group and not a corporation. I want to be their worker bee, their person who puts what they need and what they want first in the Capitol, not a personal agenda. There isn't one except for to help our citizens have the best life that they can have in this great state.